got three of them. You guys put your hands together for the co-writer, director, Sydney Freeland. We also have Kauchani Bratt. Yeah, this is calm down, people. Kauchani Bratt. Jessica Matten, everybody. I wanted to squeeze every square inch out of that applause. I was not about to step on that at all. You guys deserve every single one of those applause. Thank you all for coming down here tonight. This is super, super exciting. So let's start with you, Sydney, if I can. I know that this is based on a true story, based on a number of New York Times articles that were turned into a book called Canyon Dreams. So two-part question for you to start. How did you first come to the material? And then also, before this material came to you, what was your relationship to the sport of basketball?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you all for coming tonight. It's a great crowd. Thank you guys for being here. So I'm Navajo. I'm from the Navajo Reservation in New Mexico. I played basketball. I played basketball in high school. I played Rez Ball. I was not very good, but I played. So graduated high school, could not wait to get the hell off reservation. Fast forward about probably 20 years or so, and a production company, Wise Entertainment, approached both sort of Harder and myself with a series of New York Times articles by Michael Powell, and he sort of embedded himself on the reservation and documented, basketball on reservations. And so, for those of you not familiar, I think, reservations are typically very isolated, both geographically and socially as well too. From the rest of the United States, and we don't really have professional sports teams. Like, we don't even really have college teams. And so what happens a lot of times is that your sports heroes fall on high school athletes, and there's this huge rabid following for basketball. And so, because that's what they typically excel at. So that was sort of the kind of jumping off point. And then, as Sterling and I were having conversations, we found that we had these sort of parallel experiences in common. Him in Oklahoma with football and wrestling, and myself with New Mexico playing Rez Ball. And there were these certain constants that started presenting themselves. And I think one of the big things that we decided early on is that we didn't want to have a white savior. We didn't want to have that coach that came from off the reservations and teach these Native kids, how to do it right. And so that one decision had all of these great positive consequences, right? And I should specify, the book and New York Times are based off of a real team, the Chimney Wildcats in Arizona. This movie itself is a work of fiction, and it's based on an amalgamation of Sterling and I's experiences. And so, as we're sort of, going with the jumping off point of the simple decision to not have a white savior, we had a coach who was from the community. And so what we found happen is that when the team faced adversity in the script and in the story, the coach had to find solutions from within. So she couldn't go out, and it wasn't going to be, this coach is going to take him to the big city and take him to an art gallery and teach him, I don't know what. And so as we kept pulling on this thread, all these things sort of started presenting themselves in a great way. It's like, she's going to take him to the sheep camp. That's going to see with Jimmy. Jimmy's going to get the idea to ask the question, what if we call the police in Navajo? And it had this sort of snowballing effect from that one sort of, I guess, very sort of simple decision up front. And but
that was something that you added. That wasn't part of the actual story. Was it calling the plays in Navajo?
No. to the extent you take it from real experience, I remember when I played in high school, rival teams would talk to each other in native languages, and I wouldn't know what they were saying. So I would just say, what I knew how to say Navajo was you too, so I'd say, Nidolo, whatever they were saying, I would say it back to them. That's just the
Sweet comeback.
Yeah.
Well, I was curious about that. I wanted to ask you that right off the bat because I don't think this film could be made with somebody that didn't have an understanding of the game, because it's one of the most just the choreography of the basketball games in the film is some of the best that I've ever seen on film, and I don't know how you could do that without be directing a director that didn't have passion and understanding for the game. So that was interesting to hear. Somebody that I probably don't have to guess what their relationship was to basketball before this film is you, sir, because this kid can ball. You saw that?
Depends on who you ask.
Kauchani, can you tell us when you first started playing basketball, and did acting come before that or after that?
Yeah, so I started playing basketball pretty early on, around the ages around 6, 7, just playing like local rec leagues. And you know, I started playing, and then Rez Ball came around middle school, and I started, traveling to these all-Indian tournaments on these different reservations, and sort of playing basketball. And then I got to high school, and then was varsity for 3 years. And then acting didn't come along until, I was studying college at UC Santa Cruz, studying philosophy. Trying to, go slugs, just studying philosophy.
Slugs?
Yeah, slugs. Yeah, super intimidating, right? Yeah, so I'm at UC Santa Cruz, studying philosophy, thinking about life, trying to figure out just trying to figure out what I want to, what path I want to go moving forward. And I'm scrolling on Instagram one day, and I see this casting call for this Netflix movie produced by LeBron James, for this game that I grew up playing my whole life. And it was sort of like this super, something that was super meaningful to me, something that I could, no matter what was going on in my life, basketball was always there for me, good, bad, and so I saw this, and I was like, this, something about it, I was like, I gotta just go for it. Something inside me, I just knew it was gonna be history, and in fact it is history. We gotta get Sydney across today, because this is the highest budgeted film directed by an indigenous director. Hey, that's the history. And so I knew this was gonna be special, and
With an open casting call for the lead.
yeah, and so I knew it was gonna be special, and I really just wanted to be a part of it. And in my mind, the best possible case scenario was just being an extra on the other team. No, seriously, and so that's sort of my story. And
So, is this your first film?
it's my first acting role, period.
Our audition process for this film was particularly intense. I think it was, not only was it important for me that these kids actually had to play basketball, that it was also, Netflix really got behind us in that regard too. And so we put out a casting call, and we tried to really sort of not make it difficult, but essentially what we wanted to do is not only that they put themselves on tape, traditionally reading lines and so on and so forth, but they also had to film themselves shooting a free throw, shooting a layup, shooting a three-pointer. And we thought that would leave people out, but we had 5,000 submissions.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
You make it a little harder, maybe. But that's so wild. Okay, so maybe this is a question for the both of you. Do you feel that you would get the performance that you did from him had he been an actual actor? There's something that's so realistic about his character? I don't know if I'm asking that question right, but does that make sense?
The sources, I don't know. I think we certainly have actors that were very talented and had a lot of experience, but they could not shoot a lamp to save their life. So, in that regard, the sources, I don't know, but I think we found the perfect combination in Kauchani Bratt, and not only is this his first film, but just put some flowers on him. Hollywood Reporter just recently selected him as the TIFF breakout star.
Well, incredible performance, congratulations. Speaking of incredible performances, let's take this over to Jessica here. One of the most interesting, kind of fascinating aspects to your character that I know that there's some backstory about your character. You were a high school star, played in the NBA, but even watching it again for the second time tonight, I don't know if I missed it or if it's just unspoken, which I think is maybe even kind of more interesting. But the fact that your character is a woman coaching a boys' high school basketball team, I have to believe that's fairly unusual. Am I wrong in saying that? It's something I don't think you see very often. And I thought it was interesting that it wasn't, that's almost maybe a different kind of a movie, or a different movie altogether, which is not the story that you guys are telling, but I thought it was kind of an interesting component. Is there something about that you informed how you approached your character?
Actually, Tanzi, hi Jessica, by the way. Yeah, I thought it was kind of rare too, but for the TIFF premiere, my dress was actually designed by an Indigenous fashion designer that also happens to be a female Rez Ball coach in real life. Yeah, what are the chances? So I said, her name is Pamela Baker, and I said, Pam, can you make me look like a basketball? And she did, so we collaborated on this dress.
She's also coaching a boys'
basketball team.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but I do understand the rarity of that. I think there's something special about our Indigenous communities in that respect, of that there's,
That's patriarchy?
yeah, exactly.
Is
I think that is part of it, but also, I think there's kind of an understanding of like Rez Ball in our community, especially like I'm from Canada. There is this thing where it kind of acts as creating a sense of belonging and community in places that can be quite dire. So it kind of acts as a safe haven. So it's also kind of attached to the work that I do in suicide prevention with the Indigenous youth that I have been doing that for 20 years. So yeah, it's all tied together.
Thank you. Sydney, this movie is so uplifting. It's so funny. There's a lot of humor. I mean, it's all throughout the film. Really funny moments. But right from the beginning, I think you get a real sense of loss and sense of tragedy, even in the kind of early setup in the film, and some visual elements, like I'm thinking of the two chairs that are empty during the first game. You deal just head first into a lot of serious issues that are facing people on the reservation, and my guess is that probably affect people disproportionately on the reservation within the film. There's suicide, obviously, is kind of a big part of the story. There's unemployment. There's teen pregnancy in the film. There's alcoholism, which I know is something that you've dealt with in your past work. What kinds of consideration do you give in being, you know, in kind of working in all of these issues into the film, balancing that with what is also in some ways, a large part, you know, hopeful, uplifting sports film?
Yeah, no, I think, you know, really, everything that you're sort of mentioning, like, those are realities of life at home, you know, and I think one thing for me, whether it's, you know, filmmaking, narrative, documenting, whatever, I think one of the things that I really look for is that balance between, you know, like, you know, what we've had, you know, for myself growing up was what we call poverty porn, you know, it's like, oh, let's take the documentary crew to the reservation, look at poor Indians, you know, look at the drunks, look at the dogs, look at the, you know, look at how terrible they have it, you know. But at the same time, you know, when you're telling a story, if you want to make something uplifting, you also don't want to have everything end happily ever after, you know, because that would be a disservice to life at home. And so, you know, for myself, it's just really about, you know, trying to be as honest and upfront with the situations back home. And, you know, it's the same thing I asked of the actors as well, too. I said, you know, just, you know, we're going to try to be honest on the page, and I'm just going to ask you guys to be as honest as you can with your performance. And, you know, I think as we sort of kept moving through it, we found out that so much of our, you know, our cast, and, you know, I guess this kind of goes back to the early point of bringing on like a more seasoned actor. You know, the 10 kids that you see playing Jessica, Julia, you know, the rest of our cast, they're from these environments, they're from these places, so they're bringing, you know, their own personal stories to it, and that just lends its authenticity, that lends that extra layer of authenticity. So, you know, I think for myself, it's just trying to be in service of the story and trying to be as honest and, you know, as we can, and honest and respectful as we can.
I think that this has to be the most cinematic basketball film that I've ever seen. I've seen a lot of them, most of them, maybe even. And I think if you think of previous basketball movies, you know, you have, they're all, you know, a lot of them are kind of interiors. It's, you know, confined to the basketball court. You know, movies like He Got Game and Above the Rim that are, you know, kind of inner city settings. You have something like Hoosiers, it's more of like a rural landscape. But they don't have what you have in your movie, which is just, you know, the backdrops, the mesas, the colors, the clouds. Some amazing clouds in this movie. Especially on the big silver. So my question is, do you know how much of that is the kind of setting that you're in versus making an actual attempt to, you know, kind of pardon the pun, but like change the game a little bit on, well, you know, putting a little more panorama into what you expect in a basketball movie?
Well, I think, you know, kind of going back to the earlier point too, this sort of you know, through line of authenticity, you know, like I mentioned, I played basketball, I played on these courts, you know, I played in these gymnasiums, you know, even the small school gym, it was like, we have to have a small school gym because not all these schools hold 4,000 people. So for myself, I've lived this, I've breathed it. Jessica's lived it, she's breathed it, Kauchani's lived it, he's breathed it. So have all of our other kids, and it's so integral to our experience. So that when we had an opportunity to make this, and it was something that, even though it's common to us, it was foreign to so many other people, you know. So, you know, you know, thank you for the kind words, but for myself, it's sort of like, oh yeah, it's yeah, of course, clouds and landscape and all that stuff. That's just where I come from. So to have the chance to share that with other people, that's the really special part.
I remember a lot of fist fights on those small courts too.
I'm not sure for me. I remember having to get police escorts. We would have to get police escorts from the gym to our bus. I remember one we played a winter tournament and we got snowballs with rocks pelted at our bus as we were leaving. And we lost too.
I hate to see what happened if you won. Holy shit. That's intense. All right, well, maybe we can kind of finish up asking our actors here, what was your most favorite scene to either, I'll give you the choice, to either shoot or to see up on screen? Kauchani, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and I think my favorite scene would have to be with Jessica. I think it was the one where Heather tells Jimmy about, the glory of his mom, and sort of, that she was the golden child, and that, Jimmy sort of is understanding, that his mom sort of had that golden ticket, and she sort of let it fall through her fingers, and he realizes in that moment that Heather, she too had challenges put in front of her, and she rose to the challenge, and that in that moment Jim realized that could be his role model, that moving forward, he too could maybe rise to the challenge and do what needed to be done, and I think that was one of my favorite scenes to watch and to see on screen.
Yeah, that was a good one. What about you?
That's exactly my favorite scene. Honestly, I think that's like our third day of shooting together too, right? That was the third day of
The day everyone built it.
Yeah, so it was a beautiful way for Johnny and I to connect to as actors, and I think it's one of those scenes where, as any actor, like you just wanna feel everything all at once, and I think we really did there. I have to say also another amazing day that we had was we got to shoot in the Albuquerque Netflix studio, and it was still being built when we were using it, and we were the only project filming this huge place. So to take that in just in general was phenomenal. I mean, you work so hard. I've been in this business now for 13 years, so I mean, to remember where I started to where I am now, it was just like a moment of gratitude, and I got to spend it with all these guys, and it was, what was it, Sid? It was like, remember for the school bus scenes, we had what is that?
Yeah, we shot on the volume, similar to like what they've done on The Mandalorian, and so that Netflix has a volume stage, and we're doing, hey, Kira's here. Our cinematographer, people, Kira. And if you,
Everybody that was involved with the film, please stand up.
Thank you for giving me a segue to one of my favorite memories. Early on in pre-production, we were scouting. We had a very rare opportunity where it was just my cinematographer and myself, and we got to take a solo trip to Shiprock where we filmed and just do some location scouting. Nobody in tow, nobody whatever. And I told that in the Rez Ball. Fences, and I was like getting my shoes dirty, my socks were black, and then Kira's a phenomenal cinematographer, and she was just hopping along with me, and I was like, oh my goodness, I had this like amazing cinematographer, and I'm making her like crawling barbed wire fences on the reservation, and I remember, there was this big fence, and we had to climb over. It was getting dark, and I think I ripped my pants and hopped over. Finally got over the sun was setting, and we walked about 50 feet, and then the fence ended. Just walked around but I think that was one of my favorite memories. But I think beyond that, I think just shooting on the reservation was definitely a very special special thing of being able to come back home and shoot. I had to sort of carve out time on set to, because when a film is going, it's very quick and, you don't have a lot of time to think. You just have time to react. And so there were pockets of time where I was able to kind of sit back and look. That's Shiprock. I'm home. I'm on the reservation. We're telling a story about Indigenous basketball players. And those were kind of the special moments for myself and also working with these days.
Well, it's a good one, folks. So thank you guys for taking the time to come down and tell me that's Sydney Freeland. So everybody, I'm hoping that you can tell all your friends about this movie. This comes out on Netflix on the 27th. Let everybody know it's coming. You know how these things work, like the early numbers, algorithms, bullshit, whatever, but the bigger that this hits, the more of these kind of movies that we get to see. So please do everything you can to kind of spread the word on this one, because this is a special movie. I know that you guys are going to be, you've probably already been told this in recent weeks, you're going to be told this a lot in the coming months. And I hope that you do for much longer than that, but you all did an incredible job with this film. I'm so happy that we got to share it with everybody, and that you got to come out here tonight. Give it up with you guys one more time, folks. And thank you all for coming down tonight. We really, really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.